a synchronicity has a personal, impactful meaning. So a coincidence will happen. It won't have any meaning for one person, and the other person will be extremely impactful. Also, the same synchronicity can have a completely different meaning for two different people.
Hello, everybody. We're back with our already 13th podcast. And this podcast, we are talking about the synchronicities in our lives. When you look at synchronicities, they are all day, every day, 24 hours a day, are they there? But most of them we don't see. And the ones we see, when we are not very careful, our brains make something from it what it wasn't meant to. What those synchronicities are events or so events that happened. You think about somebody and that somebody is calling you at that moment. And that's synchronicity. You have all kinds of events that happens every day, all day, that belongs to those synchronicities. In our world, we look at that way also to animals, for instance, when we are working on something or a bird flies by, that means something. When you look first at the bigger picture of it, you have to realize that you always are connected. When you, what we call cosmic father, cosmic mother, or as one, we call it the original sun, that energy is always there, that comes around you, but also inside you. The same with the energy of the earth, of Pachamama, as we call her. And the soul of Mother Earth is, we call her Pachamama. That is also coming around you and inside you. And those two forces come together in your soul. It's as if they both kissing inside your soul. So everything what is happening inside you is connecting with everything what is happening outside you. And so it is always going in two directions, from the outside in, but also from the inside out. And therefore, everything what is surrounding you can react on everything what is happening inside of you. And therefore, it is very good to learn to look what is happening outside of you, because it says something about what is happening inside of you. So you can say that those synchronicities are kind of footprints from your unconsciousness. And so they are some visual things or some things that happens in the outside world that says something about your unconscious world, and sometimes about your conscious world, but you don't understand it completely. You have questions. You see what is happening, but you cannot pinpoint it, what it exactly is. And so the whole world around you, when I'm talking about, you have, for instance, a whole team around you, a whole team what is there for helping you. So cosmic beings, cosmic allies, but also spirit allies that are here for helping you. And everything will help you, and part of this help is those synchronicities. Robin?
So I would like to add a little level of that, another layer onto there is um, the way that I tend to define a synchronicity and separate it from coincidence is a synchronicity has a personal, impactful meaning. So a coincidence will happen, it won't have any meaning for one person, and the other person will be extremely impactful. Also, the same synchronicity can have a completely different meaning for two different people experiencing the same thing. Um, we the universe is always, like you're saying, 24/7 on all levels is arranging everything, constantly arranging and rearranging life around you, circumstances, your opportunities to move you toward your destiny, towards whatever you came here to do, your purpose, however you want to say it. That every minute of every day, the universe is aligning situations and it is always happening. We typically aren't paying attention to it. We miss a lot of them because, well, we just haven't been taught to pay attention to it. And a lot of it's been brushed off. And you say stuff to people that's just a coincidence. It isn't just a coincidence. And one of the things that really impacted me when we were studying with Puma, do you remember when Puma said that when you have an encounter with an animal, it is not a coincidence that animal waited for you? And that impacted me so much because I really pay attention to animal encounters anyway as synchronicities and signs. And just to hear that the animals actually wait for us, they know, that was really, really personal. So, you can also, I would like to say that the universe, that life around us is a mirror of what is happening inside. And so a lot of times when you're hearing material about synchronicities, you'll run into a lot of stuff about manifesting at the same time. And it is because the way that they use these laws of attraction and stuff is not, it's not quite complete, I think, in the way that it's being done. Because what is honestly true is we don't attract what we want. We don't attract what our words ask for. We attract what we are vibrating at. We attract what we are. So what we're vibrating inside is what we're putting out into the universe, and then the universe feels that vibration and says, "Oh, you need this," and everything comes into place for that to manifest. And then if you settle, if you're settling for something, or you doubt, if you doubt, you're giving the universe permission to just not do it because it's like, "Oh, you didn't really want that." Okay, so it doesn't happen. Or um if you're settling for something, it's like, "Oh, well, you didn't really want all of that. Well, we'll just give you this part then." So you're really, it's not attracting as in you're trying to pull in something from the universe. It's not like you're going to the store and taking something off the shelf. It is that what you are putting out there and what you're holding in here is going to create the same vibrations around you, and it's just going to manifest. So there's not a whole bunch of, put that out there and your vision boards and all that is kind of like a doing rather than a being. And so the synchronicities are, they rest in the being where you're at. And like you can ask for specific synchronicities and signs and symbols, songs, um, I don't know what else. Songs I use a lot, animal encounters, um, somebody will walk up and say something to you. It's like, I was just thinking about that. The person that you're thinking of calls, so many things that just show up, like flashing lights, rainbows pop up, all, but it has to be things that mean something to you. And it's also, you don't want to try to put it out there and just desperately be seeking for synchronicities, because then those aren't synchronicities either. It's contrived, and it's just too much. Like every single thing that happens to you all day long doesn't have a deeper meaning. You know, sometimes that book just fell off the shelf and it's not a sign. You have to, well, you don't have to, but how I do it, if something like that happens, I'm like, "Whoa, what was I just thinking? What was I thinking when that happened?" And I backtrack a little bit and I see, does that actually have any meaning? You know? And sometimes it isn't a synchronicity for me. And later in the day or later sometime, I'll be having a conversation with somebody and it'll pertain to whatever that book was about, but it wasn't my sign, but I was meant to bring that message to that person. So synchronicities, I think, need to be um in the being, not the doing.
And when I go a little further with that, there are many. When I look at animals, for instance, why does an animal come to you, or fly by, or what it is? We tend to look what the meaning of that animal is by animal cards or what somebody else has written about that animal. But that's not why they came to you. And that's what another person got information, and probably what that animal is saying for that person who wrote those cards or wrote those insights about those animals. And very often those animals have something completely different to say to you than what those cards are saying. So it's um, very important to listen, but listen not with your ears. As we have said it more often already, but listening, you do it from the inside. You have to go to your inside and you have to listen. From there, you have to connect with that animal. And so what we are tend to do is going from the out. Oh, what do you want to say? Oh, what? If that animal is gone, because that is not the level where that animal is living. And so you have to stay on your place and first connect with yourself when you are not connected, and then go from that connection. Your energy goes a little bit outwards towards that animal, so that it's like an energy shield around you, what expands a little bit, but not completely to that animal. Well, then that animal is gone already. And so your energy field has to connect with the energy field of that animal, and then you can hear what that animal is wanting to saying to you. So and therefore you need some rest, you need some, as we've said it a lot of time, you have to go inward. Therefore, I also try to say completely in the beginning, the original sun, that what most people call God, that you have to take it in, like Mother Earth. You have to take it in and connect it with your soul. That's where you live, and there is where you commune and communicate with. That's not with outside. It's not with the voice I use now. It is from inside. Oh, you don't see that, but it goes like this. So from cosmic mother, cosmic father, the original son or God, Pachamama, Mother Earth, connect with your soul, and that's going all outward together. And that's when it's about animals or when it's about an element, that's how you connect. That's how you start talking to them. That's how you can understand what they try to say. And it's also with trees, the same thing with plants, with everything living in nature, everything that is living, you have to connect that way. I'm also was thinking while Robin was talking about events. I was thinking about events, for instance, a long time ago, is I was driving on a German highway, on the German Autobahn, and I like to drive very fast. And I was driving really fast, so fast as you only can drive in a German Autobahn. And the sun was very low, so shining in my eyes. And a voice, I don't know whom it was. I just know that it was not my voice. And all those distinctions, I hear it in my brain, but you have to learn those, it feels different if another person or being is speaking in my head or if it's me. But that I heard the voice, shouldn't you drive a little bit slower when you don't see that well? And I was thinking, oh, perhaps it's a quite good idea. And it was not even 10 minutes later, there happened just in front of me a terrible accident, really, really terrible. When I was still driving as fast as I did before, I was in the middle of it. I wasn't able to brake that hard that I was not in that accident myself. And so that are also things, those little voices in your head that helping you, that are guiding you to stay out of trouble. In this instance, it helped me survive. Probably I'm still alive because of that. Probably also because I drove that fast, I made that accident even more terrible than it was already. And there were more people killed than there were now because of my speed. So it's not only that it helped me not coming in that accident, but it also helped that probably because of me, many other people will died also. And so those voices are, like my example now, are very, very helpful, but also very important to listen to. And those voices are, and this is now a very dramatic thing, but when you're driving around, do I have to go left or do I have to go right? Just listen. So before the time of the GPSs, for me, it was very easy to go from one place to another place, even when I was not never been there. I always found the shortest way because I listened to that voice. Now with GPS, I don't listen to that voice anymore. When I cannot find it on the GPS, you're almost panicking. Oh, how do I come there? Yeah, listen to that voice who was saying how you have to drive. And also you are extremely mad because you're in a traffic jam and you have no time and you're stressed out completely, to find out later that it again, you survived something else because you was in a traffic jam. So all time, every day, what we already said, 24 hours a day, things like this happening, and becoming aware of those things that are happening. That's so I gave now a few um, examples. So from events, animals, the elements are very, yeah, they are constantly. And I don't know which podcast it was, but I was talking about the fire. Then it was the podcast about the elements, about the element fire. That when I am not in my fire, I'm heating my house with fire, with wood for 20 plus years, and sometimes, so I'm very trained in putting on the fire, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And because I'm experienced with it, then now I know, oh, it doesn't work because I'm not in my fire. So I'm connecting with myself again. I'm going inward, connecting with my fire. And then when I am connected, I put the fire on. And most of the time, the fire starts talking and saying things like, "You thought you, uh, I would do the work for you," something like that. It is always with a lot of joy and playfulness, or not always, of course, but many times, uh, uh, um, the cosmic beings and the spirit beings have a lot of humor. They always make jokes with you. They always say things like that with you. Um, they all also liked to light up your life a little bit. Uh, 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 Especially when you tend to make it a little bit heavy and a little bit, life is so heavy, then look at um, that can even a fly that flying by. Nee, life is not heavy, and and it's gone. Just look at those things. It makes life a way more nicer and also easier. Robin?
Um, this is a great place. I think I'd like to say how there are different kinds of synchronicities. So you were just telling us the protective warning kind. Okay, so that just pops up and there's a warning and it's there to protect you. We can use synchronicities as a means of confirmation. Am I making the right decision? Am I on the right path? You were just saying driving. Um, perfect timing, perfect timing ones. Well, your example was really good. Um, Also, like when I go somewhere and I know it's a busy place, like when I have to drive into the city and parking's hard to find, I manifest a parking spot before I get there. Well, I don't know where I'm gonna park in my head, I just follow where it feels and I turn right and I turn left and I turn here and whoo, there's a parking spot. There's a car pulling out. I pull in. you know? So there's that kind. And then I love the whole symbolic one that we've already touched on. And that can be like sometimes I'm gonna use because hawks, I have a very strong connection with hawks. And but every time I see a hawk, it's not the same message. Like sometimes I will see a hawk and I know it's a hello and a hug from Pop, who's passed on the other side and sending me love because I wasn't thinking of anything. I wasn't sending any prayers out because hawks carry my prayers to the sun. They fly closest to the sun. And so sometimes it's just a hug from Pop, not just. That's a big thing for me. And sometimes it's a confirmation my prayers have been received. but there's different behaviors that the hawks do that bring me different messages that are is it more than one? How many? Numbers is a big, big, big synchronicity thing. Which are they flying to the right? Are they flying to the left? Which direction, north, south, east, west, did they come from? So there's an entire encounter. Sometimes they're just soaring up and they just keep going higher and higher and higher. That's taking my prayers. Sometimes a hawk will come in and sit on the wire and call out. That's a specific message for using my voice and putting something out. Like I got to speak up for myself. Um, Sometimes it'll come and just circle, just right over me. And in that moment, I have no idea what that one is. I will just open up and say, thank you. I received that. And then later, I will understand the significance of that encounter. But in the moment, if I try to get my head into the game and explain it all and have it all lined up and filed away, then I lose the actual meaning of the synchronicity and the magic disappears. If I just stay open to that happened, I'm not really sure what it means, but I'm going to pay attention and be open to it. I'll understand it when it gets here. The magic is incredible. And so there's um, different kinds of synchronicities that we want to pay attention to. Also dreams, there's a lot of synchronicities that you can, if you remember your dreams. Yeah, that's also a big, we're in the dream state is it's just a different world. We're in a different world. We tend to think of I am this body. That's not who I am, because who's talking to you in your head? Who is that observer? There's an observer in there that's not this. That's you. That's your higher you, and that's you that travels. And in is the dream time is the same dimension as imagination, intuition, and so that's also a very powerful source of understanding synchronicities. So if you understand your dreams, and again, especially in dream time, that is a very personal interpretation of the symbolic language. And you can go to dream books and have somebody else's input on that. And it's a good place to start. I'm not dismissing them altogether. It's just you can't wear it as your own. It's just a foundation. It's like I had a dream about a snake. What does that mean? And you can go and hear, a basic interpretation of it. But then you still okay, so come away from that. That's not the whole answer. There's more that well, what's a snake to you? Because I have a lot of personal hits on snakes. It's just not gonna be what somebody else is gonna have. And, a good thing about that is, okay, an example, hummingbirds. Lots and lots of people have hummingbird connection. It means something different to every single person. And Clementine, until me and you, hummingbirds were strictly my mom. Every hummingbird was my mom. And now you're my mama Kia. And I mean, Kinty, you want to be the mom?
I was
Well, true.
I thought I don't say anything, but, let let me say that it's Mama Kinty.
Yes. So you're my mama Kinty. And sometimes now when I have my hummingbird encounters, I need to discern, is this you or is this my mom communicating with me? And then when I talk to my sister, Tess, her hummingbird is my Aunt Anna. When have a dragonfly encounter, that's from my Gertie. But when Tess has a dragonfly encounter, that's from her Brian. And so it's, I almost want to say it's a dangerous thing to wear somebody else's interpretation of your symbols. You need to develop a really personal relationship with your symbols. And the greatest way to cultivate synchronicities in your life is, again, my go-to, go out in nature, spend some time in nature, nature, nature. Nature is always talking to you, and appreciate the beauty. Appreciate the, like, okay, find a heart in nature. When you if you do nothing else with this podcast, walk out your door and say, "Today I'm going to see a heart in nature." And then when you see that, don't dismiss it. Go, "Oh, that's a coincidence." I don't-" No, that heart was placed there for you on purpose, and you need to let yourself understand that. You need to accept that you are so special. The universe put that there to let you know they're listening and they are responding. This is who we are calling allies, the ancestors, the allies, the spiritual beings, the elements, whoever you work with, the essences, the planetary. Everybody's got their own things, like astrologers. They have synchronicities nobody else is going to understand because they have an understanding of the planetary realm, and they have that language. So when somebody walks out and you have an encounter with Mama Kia, the moon on the equinox, like I was telling you last night, um, it's a very special thing, and it will have a very different meaning for me because I am an astrologer than it has with a person who has no astrology background at all, but loves the moon. And there is a dialogue that goes with that that speaks to your inner.
I was saying I am that person that loves
Oh,
the moon and has no connection with it from astrology. Um, where I want to react on is when the way Robin told it, when you want somebody else's information about some animals, then you're only feeding your brain, and then um, you want to know it, but that's not your answer, as Robin also already said. And so it can be a start, but it's not why that animal was there at that moment for you. Um, the other thing what I want to react on is what Robin also talked about very shortly was numbers. I don't know how often I hear people saying, "Oh, it's 1111. Oh, angel numbers." That's nice, but what does it say you? What does it bring you? Yeah, some angel is thinking about me. No. Yeah, perhaps yes, but but it is
and
when you see that. Do you want to finish my sentence?
yeah, I'm like, and right? Because
Yes.
okay, so an angel is thinking about me. Why? Why? The angels
And
are always thinking about us. Why are they sending you that message right now? Like, and what does it mean to you
yes.
inside? Yeah.
Yes, what not only why, but also what is it thinking of this angel about you? So um, all those numbers, it's very nice and it's also nice to see. But where is it for you specifically, and not for
Can I give a really specific 1111 example right here? So 1111, I hear every time. It's the number, it's the angel number that means twin flames. Well, okay, and usually when we're talking twin flames, everybody's talking romantic. I have no interest in that at this point in my life. So 1111 does not mean that for me at all. I do numerology, and my life path number is 11. So anytime I see 1111, it's already 3. It's 11 11 11. It's a very different vibration because that's a 22 opposed to a 33. So when I see 1111, it's absolutely different message. And it's very, very personal. And it has something to do with I am doing something right that is what I came here to do. And I'm on the right path. And doesn't have anything to do with twin flame other than I may meet a kindred spirit that has something to do with my next step on my path, but not necessarily like a twin flame romantic person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with and live happily ever after. So, you know, you gotta take all of this stuff you see out there with a little bit of grain of salt and maybe even change it up a little bit for your own. And sometimes it's just not that at all. So yeah, that's my 1111s mean something completely different.
And then also Robin touched on the timing. So be aware that everything, is it an event, is it an animal? It is divine timing. It is on the perfect moment for you. Not for me, for you. And not a day earlier or 10 minutes later. No, perfect timing. Divine timing is always on the perfect time for you. And why that is for you, that is on you to look at and find it out. Why you need it right now at this moment. And then we are back in the beginning. You have to learn to listen. Go inward and listen outward what it has to say, but not with those ears, not with that brain, just with feeling. So what it also has to say, that the words are not coming like words. That what it has to say. Sometimes it can sound like a word in your head, but the most of the times it is in signals, it is in feelings, it is in pictures. So and um, especially in the beginning when you're not very trained, it's more slightly different in feeling. It can be slightly different in temperature. Can all kinds of very things you don't feel that, but the more you are trained in it, the more it becomes clear in the first second already. And it's also a little bit different how you are wired when you are a very sensitive person. So that's your biggest asset. So you will feel everything. When you are more a mental, then it can be that you hear easier words. So how you are wired, how it's easiest for you to get that information, that will be the way it starts. Robin?
So, how to train yourself. One of the things I want to say, I started and then distracted myself, is go out in nature and notice the beauty every day. Just notice the beauty. Just notice the magic that is in every moment, and it will increase your synchronicities because you're in the flow and you've You've taken your place. Everything in nature, we are part of nature. Everything in nature, everything that is life is interconnected. We are all manifestations of the same energies being expressed. We're just different expressions of that same energy, which is the coming together of the cosmic mother and father and Pachamama, and we are there. Nature happens in there. So you just notice the magic that's in every moment and appreciate. So it's like a gratitude journal taken a step further. And once you start appreciating the magic in every moment, you just walking out. We're in a heat wave right now, and to go outside in my job, I go from class to class at the school I was at this week, and it's over 90 and it's really hot. And I stepped out and it's just just fire in your face. And I was like, whoo. And I would breathe out and breathe in, and the wind would come and blow. And that's on purpose. And you see this appreciate that moment and say thank you and accept it as a magical thing instead of, oh, well, yeah, the wind blows all the time. No, it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't, you know? And so those tiny little things, when you start to appreciate and hold it as a magical happening, it will increase and it will get stronger, and you will develop your own personal meanings with all of your messages. The universe is constantly, constantly, constantly orchestrating synchronicities and magic moments. And just think about if you're doing your job and you're constantly putting all this effort into doing your job, and somebody notices and says, "Oh, I appreciate the way you did that." Doesn't that make you feel really good and you just want to do some more? And that's the universe. It's like they're paying attention. Let them know you're paying attention back. And then you develop a stronger communion with them. And it becomes very, very personal. And it won't be long at all before you have your own interpretation. You will understand exactly what it means. You won't have to look anything up. And it's by doing this daily, little gratitude walk out in nature, you develop stronger synchronicities for yourself. You develop um, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I lost my word, but you just don't have to seek outside of yourself anymore. You trust. Intuition is stored in the gut. And so your gut feelings, you trust your gut feelings, and this gratitude, these magic moments, appreciating these magic moments, you learn to trust yourself and you don't have to look anything up after a while. And then even even remember when Puma said, trust yourself first and last? And when you're in a class with somebody like Puma at his camp, you tend to like want to treat him like he's a god, You just he knows so much. Right? And it's like and the Puma himself will say, "Don't do that. Don't do that." And say and so you get like you're talking about something, and talking synchronicity happen or this and that, and Puma will give you his interpretation, what it means to him, and he specifically said, but listen to yourself first and last. So if that means something different to you, but somebody else who you look up to and admire and just think it's like the ultimate little guru god tells you something different, you will develop the strength to say, I disagree with that because my truth is this, which doesn't negate someone else's truth, but yours is yours. And that synchronicity happened for you in that manner for you. and so your interpretation is correct.
For people who do not know who Puma is, that is our master. We studied both the Peruvian way of life. Let me say it in the old ways before Inca time even. Therefore, we have some Quechua language also, what we sometimes like Pachamama, like Mama Kinti. And so Kinti
And
is
Mama Kia.
Mama Kia. And so Mama Kia is Mother Moon. Kinti is the hummingbird. So um, um, it's has become our nature to use sometimes Quechua words. And we do that because the Quechua language is from originate is an verbal language. It's not a written language, and they took a lot of effort to find the perfect word what resonate with the animal when we talk about Kinti or when it's Kia as the moon. The word, the vibration of the word has to resonate with where they are talking about with that word. So therefore, it's for us easier to use sometimes Quechua words. And so Puma was or is still our master and is the leader of the lineage of the rainbow in the Andes where he's from. Um, um, uh, Robin was talking about the beauty of and the magic of nature, and a completely other way of listening is, for instance, what I remembered. I enjoyed big flocks of starlings. You call them the birds. I mean, not the things from where we get internet from, but that fly together as clouds and they turn and how can that be? And I was sitting outside here. There, it was just the time that the starling chicks came out of the nest, and I was observing that, and I liked it so much. But what happened is that I got so much information by looking, but so it was two directional. I was not only looking, I got a lot of information back, and already there you saw how they learned to connect together, how to react together, and then there were a lot of families together there and who worked already then as one. And um, for me, that was just pure magic what I observed there, and it was and um, that I am an outsider. That they just did what they had to do with me in their middle as outsider, and that they showed me what I wanted to learn for so long time already. So all those things will happen when you observe. So then you get also so much information back, and um, um, when you become an observer from nature, you will learn way more about life than you ever imagine. Because we said already, outside and inside is the same. And you learn just by observing a lot about yourself, but also about how the world works. And so I invite you, or I think we both do it. We invite you to look at your synchronicities and be aware and yeah, become more conscious of them. And because, as we've said, they are 24/7, they are there.
I want to add another part here, and then I want to give probably a little bit of a long example, but there's a lot of people listening who live in the city, and they think, "Oh, nature, nature. Okay, well, there's not enough nature around me." So you're a little bit disconnected because you're living in cement. So, but synchronicities are happening all around you there as well. You're everywhere. And so I'm going to give an example of when I was living in New York and what got me to California. Okay. So I was in my 20s, and it had occurred to me that I wanted to move to California. There was absolutely no way I couldn't, there was no way for me to make it happen. It's just a dream, but I put it out there and that's what I wanted and I held it in my heart. And what happened is the job that I was at, suddenly there was corporate restructure and my job didn't exist anymore. And rather than staying in that company, which I could have had a nice safe job and a good paycheck, but I didn't like the job and I didn't like the people that I was going to have to work for. So it's just a lot of stuff to enmesh in every day to overcome. So I went and looked for a different job. I got a job in a computer company. I knew nothing about computers, but I got that job because I was willing to learn. And I really hit it off with the person who was going to be my boss, is the one who did the interview. Was Tom there? Yeah, no, it was just Paul. And so we hit it off, and he was concerned about no computer background, but he really liked everything else I said, so he gave me the job, and it was a wonderful job. It was a really wonderful job. So all of these synchronicities happened, and it turned out to be okay. I met the vice president of the corporation, and in the corporate world in the 90s, in the late 80s and 90s, there wasn't a lot of, new agey kind of thinking, was just fluff and stuff. Nobody looked at any of that seriously. And it turned out that the vice president was reading the book of psychocybernetics and how the mind and the body and the brain waves and all of this thing. So we ended up in deep conversation. So fast forward, we ended up with a really nice friendship. And there was at one point we had a conversation, and I just happened to mention I had always wanted to do cake decorating because my sister-in-law was really awesome at decorating cakes when I was a kid, and I just idolized her, and I was like, "I wanna do that." And so I went, and I was just in conversation just came out, and Tom was just beside himself. He said, "I just remember there was a learning annex here in the United States was a big thing. You could sign up and go take all these wonderful kind of classes in community settings." And he had signed up for a cake decorating class because he also wanted to do it. I didn't know. And he couldn't go because something came up, so he had a different commitment. And so he gifted me with that class. So I went to that class, and the lady teaching the class is now one of my best friends. And as it turned out, one night I asked her, I don't know, I can't, whatever, however, we found out that here in the outskirts of New York City, in the suburbs of New York City, I meet this person at this class, and it turns out we live where I went home and went out on my back balcony, and she went home and went out on her back balcony, and we could wave at each other across the street. And so, that it just, and oh, we so many things. But then Tom heard me say I wanted to move to California. And so we were with all of this manifestation thing with psycho-cybernetics from his side and my outlook. And I my roommate situation ended and he said, "Come stay with me. You don't have to pay rent. You can save your money to go to California." And so that was a blessing in and of itself and the wondrous things that happened. And so he helped me plan my trip. And I don't know if you know about Motel 6 over there, but over here at that time, Motel 6 was new, and it was their tagline was Tom Bodett owns Motel 6s, and it was like, "Who leaves the light on?" And so, Tom was helping me, so Tom Bodett is gonna leave the light on. So, I looked up if I drove how many hours a day, where would I be, and planned my route, which Tom helped me with. We called AAA, and he did all of the mapping, and we did every day where I would check in at Motel 6 at a certain hour, certain time, call my mom, say I was okay, not go out of my room so she would feel I was safe. And so all of these things lined up to get me to California. And then I knew nobody in California. So I pulled out a map and I grew up in Newport, Vermont. So I chose Newport, California. That's where I'm going to go, Newport to Newport. And that's what we did. And all the synchronicities on the way happened. And then at one day on my trip, I was talking to one of my friends back in New York, and she goes, "Oh, I have a friend that lives not too far from there. You need to look him up." And, sometimes that's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah." And, but I did. And they were like, "Oh, you got to come and stay with us." So I immediately had a place to stay when I got here. And there's just all kinds of just wonderful things just fell into place like that. But that's like so perfect of a demonstration of how the universe is constantly orchestrating. And even if you're a city dweller, the universe is still orchestrating and you're still having magic moments and synchronicities every day all around you. And yeah, listen to them, notice them. Yeah.
And also in cities, you still have flies and you still have mosquitoes and trees and mosses and algae and just by saying because we call them fruit flies. I don't know if you have them. So there's a very small fly because that fly was coming straight to me and said, "It is not over yet. My dog is still alive." Uh, just by saying that also flies are very, very intelligent and belong to this outer space and can also talk to you. And
Clementine,
I'm still very happy that fly.
listen, a fruit fly just landed on my computer as you're speaking. What's the message?
It's your computer and it's your
It's magic. It's magic. It's
that
confirmation.
is.
So something is not over for me. Something that I thought was over is not over. I'll wait and see
And
what that is. I'll tell you when I
yeah,
find out.
I so this is how magic happens. Um, I know now her answer because I am a part connected with it because of my dog, because of that fruit fly that came towards me, that was really straight to me, turned 90 degrees and flew away. And there was a pause from a part of a second. And there it said, "It's not over yet." And then it flew away. Um, I'm not telling the whole story here where it's about, but um, um, because of what the background of this story is, and what Robin is now telling about the part that is not over for her yet, I know what it is. But I will tell it to her personally.
Thanks.
I think this is a very beautiful way to end this podcast. We will see you the next time. And again, we like to hear from you. So when you have a comment, have a question, please share it down in the comment box.
Drop us a
Till next
comment.
time.
Let us know all about your magic synchronicities. Let us know what's happening. We would love to hear about them. It's my favorite
Yes,
part.
please.
Love.
Okay, till next time.